to We the People, a recent judgment by the Supreme Court on the issue of whether a woman who does not have a marital status officially or does not have a relationship that can be described to be one that is in the nature of a marriage should be entitled to maintenance, or what is called palimony, has divided public opinion down the middle. It's evoked some very fierce reactions, especially from women, partially because of the language used in the judgment. But the language and the offence it has caused aside, what about the larger issue of alimony and maintenance? And what live-in relationships say about changing sexual mores in our society, as well as what it may do to the rights of women with these changes evolving in the world we live in today. That's our subject on We the People. If I can start with Jayant Bhushan, you were the amicus curiae in this case. There has been a lot of outrage among women, especially at the language. Now, even if it's not in the nature of a marriage, many people, many women and men believe that they have perfectly respectable and meaningful relationships that may not even seek to be in the nature of a marriage. So isn't the word keep, to first talk about the language, a completely sexist and archaic word?
I don't think the word keep has been used for all live-in relationships. In fact, I think when Indira Jaisingh raised the issue of this being very outdated language, one of the judges asked her, would you have preferred it if we had used the word concubine? And she said that would have been worse. So how would you describe a situation where the woman is a mistress and she is living either with the man or in a house provided by her? I mean, it was just a way of describing it. Personally speaking, I think the outrage is because of the nature of the relationship, namely that a mistress who you keep, and not really because there is anything so really wrong with the word keep.
So you're saying the objection is not to the substance of the judgment but to the language, and that's been a distraction in a sense?
Absolutely. Not just is it a mere side issue, namely the language, but I'm saying even the language. What is the objection about? They are just describing a situation where the woman will not be entitled to maintenance. That's all. I really find nothing seriously wrong about describing a woman as a keep. They are not describing every living relationship as a keep.
I just wanted to know, can men be keeps?
Well, certainly if the woman is providing a place to live and is financing the man can be described as a keep. It's a different thing that that is generally not what has happened in history, and therefore the word keep is associated with a woman. But yes, certainly the man can be a keep.
Madhu, the alternative question that the judges asked in the court, what word would you use? What word would you use to describe a peculiar sort of relationship?
I do want to make the point that the language is highly objectionable. It's not in the same time space as ours.
Yeah.
Keep, it comes from a very patriarchal understanding where the person who holds the finances, and we know law ensures that men hold the finances. Yeah. So it's not just a coincidence that men seem to hold the money, are the ones who keep the home. Women keep the home in very different ways.
But you know, so I was as offended by the word, but I think that the counter argument might be that the court was not looking at the kind of relationships where the man and the woman have a shared household. The court was looking essentially at relationships where a man may have occasional sex on the side.
Where to put it crassly, if he's providing for a woman, she runs the house. And let's not categorize relationships in that way, because in most marriages in this country, the man provides the house and the woman runs the house. The man provides the finances because he holds the finances as per the law. It's exactly parallel to many.
So what word would you have used? As Jayant Bhushan said, what word or language would you have used?
I would say that there are so many ways of describing the diversity of human relationships in society. And to use words like live-in relationships, keep, are completely inappropriate. I would look at different kinds of cohabitation-based relationships rather than look at either the US society for inspiration and continue to talk about live-in relationships. In India, there are various kinds of cohabitation which continue to exist, which do not tantamount to marriage.
Yeah,
and they are customary. They are customary. They are within our society. That's part of our reality. I don't think the judges are informed about our society when they say live-in relationships is new to India.
We'll get into that. Do you want a quick rebuttal to that?
Madhu hasn't answered the question. What word would you use?
I would actually not look at the word, I'm not comfortable with the word mistress, because I would look at different indicators that suggest a shared household. And many marriages too are working marriages where people only meet very briefly in the evening. So I'm not sure.
Lucky.
I'm not sure those are the terms. I would look at indicators, and indicators can be very broad, which we'll find have a lot of commonality with marriage.
But language is one dimension of this, and Jayant, I think a lot of people are just offended despite you're saying that. So now you wanted to come in there?
I just want to say the language is important. For instance, in Tamil Nadu, in Tamil, Periya Vida is house, you know that, Khushbu, is the big house where the legally wedded wife and children live, and Chinna Vida, the small house where the lady friend lives. So I think that kind of a language is acceptable.
And there are politicians who actually have more than one wife in Tamil Nadu. Everybody knows. You're talking like it's a secret. And this is my point.
I'm just saying that.
No, but this is my point, that it is complicated. I mean, the DMK chief, Karunanidhi, has more than one wife. Whether it's recognized by the law or not, that is a classic example right there in front of us.
So Periya Vida, Chinna Vida, it says it all.
And if it says it all, and that's the Tamil word for it, what would be the English word for it? So now,
the big house and the small house.
And then the small house would say, but I want equal status. But Khushbu, you've had your own run-ins with the law just for saying the commonsensical thing that if you're indulging in premarital sex, please use protection. What do you make of what you understand of this judgment?
People are still not ready to come out and accept that, okay, I have a woman in my life, I have a wife back at home, but I still love to push things under the carpet, live a life of a holy saint and say, I'm a perfect gentleman who have a wife, who have children, who have a house, I have a name in the society, yet I have a woman in my life who I'm not ready to accept it, though she provides me all kinds of pleasures of life.
Counter argument would be, and this case actually brought that up, that there was a woman who said that she was married to a man and she wanted, and this is the sad irony, she wanted 500 rupees a month as maintenance. Now, let's argue this the other way, Khushbu. What about the rights of the original wife who gets dumped or cheated on?
Let's talk about the wife who gets dumped or cheated off. I mean, in this case where Veluchami and Pachamal, the case what was there in the Supreme Court, Velusamy could not even produce the proper document saying that, okay, could not produce his first wife, saying that my wife is there, she exists. So what I don't understand is how the court could deny the alimony for Pachamal, where she has lived with him the entire...
But the nature of the relationship changed. He now used to visit occasionally from what the judgment says.
But then the society what they were living in, that small village, they knew each other. People would say that they were husband and wife.
So should he provide maintenance to both women in his life?
If he can drive pleasures from both the women in his life, I think he should give maintenance to both the women in life.
Sonal?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I 100%. If there are 3 women, then all the 3 women have to be provided. So it's, but again, coming back to your first thing, that counter, that if a woman has a husband and has a side affair or a relationship with a man, the husband doesn't accept it normally. But the woman often has, I've known some friends who are maintaining those men, and the men are not ninnies, they are not toy boys, but they are, really manly men. But they haven't found jobs, or they enjoy that kind of a thing. So what does one do? What does one say to that?
Well, let me reverse that. Do women like us, and I say us very broadly, we're all different individuals, but we have sources of income, we have our own identities. Should we be seeking maintenance?
No.
No?
Dignity doesn't...
I see both women saying no together. I know you have a different view, but just to get their perspective. So now complete your point.
My self-respect did not allow me, I was not a kept woman ever in my life. I had marriages. I would not say that any woman who can stand on her feet and has her own means of livelihood should even ask for alimony.
Well, that is I think how a lot of us feel. I know Madhu doesn't agree, I'm sensing, but let me get Kabir Bedi, who's here with his partner Parveen. Kabir, you've been through marriages as Sonal has, and now you are living with somebody, as I understand, who's with you. I take it you guys don't agree on this particular issue.
I want to say something about the word keep. I was very offended by the word, and it is archaic. And to me, if the Supreme Court, which is one of the big institutions of India, doesn't use politically correct language and doesn't set a standard, then that's not a good thing. Words are important. Language is important. I could easily say illegitimate child or bastard. Now, which one is better? I choose the former. I choose to say illegitimate.
So which
There
one do you
is
choose in this
no.
case?
Maybe use more than one word. It doesn't have to be one word. I really object to that word. It's not something that I want to hear, and it's not something I expect from institutions at all.
I'll allow you
It's
a
not
quick rebuttal
politically
to that.
correct.
Would you prefer concubine?
No, I think something politically correct.
Would you prefer mistress?
No, but define what happened in that incident. They're saying that it was a woman and there was some kind of financial arrangement. So say that. Be clear. Don't use an archaic a word that
Keep does not,
keep it in context. Correct.
keep word does not give out the gender. It does not say that keep is meant only for a woman.
Actually, no. The judgment says if a man has a woman who is a keep
or a servant.
or a servant, and he uses the two as these kind of interchangeable phrases, which doesn't mean, I mean, I find the word servant also offensive in the context, but
yes.
Can I just make bring a context to this? This case was not about the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, but the judges decided to lay down the law. And let us understand that the basis of this law is to protect women from violence. Whether she's a keep, she's a mistress, she's a concubine, and the Supreme Court had no business to deal with this in a case which was a case of maintenance under
And
Section
actually the
125.
judgment clarifies in its own controversial way that the Prevention of Domestic Violence Act applies to those relationships that are marriages or in the nature of a domestic relationship, and this one is not about that.
Then it was never an issue.
They remanded the case because the finding was that the first marriage was not a marriage at all. They said this finding could not have been given without the First Lady being there or issued notice so that she could have her say, and therefore they have remitted the matter back to the trial court. And supposing it is found that the First Lady, that is Lakshmi,